Okay, good morning everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome Professor Tamer Khatib again here at our university. Professor Tamer Khatib is the most cited researcher in the technical area in Palestine. So he's from An-Najah University in West Bank, Palestine. He also holds a habilitation at University of Klagenfurt. So there are strong bounds to this university as well. This is also why he is giving a very interesting lecture every summer semester. But today we're here for a talk about his recent research on greening of local government units. So looking very much forward to your talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Elmenreich. So today we're simply going to talk about how to green local governments. Starting with local governments, what are the local government units? Usually, as you know, we do have a central government in every country, while with some remote areas like villages or even cities, or even not really remote cities like big cities, we do have a municipality. Sometimes we do have some village council. Sometimes we do have a kind of a collaborative council for some cluster, village of a cluster. So we do have some local government units. These local government units are really important for a very novel technical and non-technical terminology, which is the self-organized system. When you have a local council at the village and you have, for example, an accident, let's say a fire is on in the forest, so having kind of a local fire unit and organizing the process of handling this accident is much better than going back to the central decision so as to make a decision on this accident. And this always apply for everything, okay? So speaking of local governments, we do have different type based on the country, on the system, on the regime, but we have at least 3 types of local government units. What we call Class A. Class A is a very novel local government unit with real self-organized system where this class of LGU, local government units, is really holding a lot of control for this area, including electricity, water, electricity distribution. They don't have a company of distribution electricity, but they receive the electricity from the distributors and they retail the electricity. Retailing electricity is not holding any technical responsibility, but selling the electricity to the people and then collecting the money on behalf of the company. And by doing some maintenance, some minor maintenance services to the end users. Same for water. They receive the water from the main network and then retail the water to the people by smart prepaid meters, by normal prepaid meters, whatever. They're also responsible of collecting waste, management of this waste. They also have the authority to collect some local fees, some local taxes for their own budget, which means that they do have a budget, okay? They also have a lot of responsibilities, such as operating public facilities, schools, clinics, parks. They can construct it. They can tender for it. So if they would like to establish a school at the location, they have to tender the school construction, they have to supervise the school construction, and they have to work on this. They're also interfering in the farming activities. They support the farming activities, the water irrigation, the fertilizers. They do a lot of things. So it's like a small technical state inside the state holding all of the responsibilities. Class B is quite lower, where with rule. They have some urban planning activities. They do waste collection, but they don't interfere in the electricity and water. There is a distribution company which is holding the responsibility of this, so they don't collect money. And also they do some kind of coordination and operation of the schools, on the public yards, etc. while Class C is even lower in rule, where they just participating in collecting waste and management of wastes, and some coordination in constructing facilities and running these facilities. So for Class A, they do have their own budget, they do have their own procurement system, they are monitored and connected to the ministries, but they do have really high authority to work and execute, while for Class B, no, they do have something lower, because the government would like to hold the responsibility of the earnings in general, while the Class C is, no, quite lower, much lower, just for coordination. The classes of the LGUs varies depending on the country system. They are a different country system. For example, in Palestine, we do have most of the LGUs are Class A, while in Jordan, for example, no, most of them are Class C. And it depends on the, in Italy, for example, for big municipalities, they are Class A. But in some other regions, they might be Class B. So it depends on the country, on the system, and on the unit. So, as I said, let's assume that either we have a Class A, Class B, or a Class C, and we will want to do some greening of these governments. What do we mean by green governments? We need to assure a sustainable development at this government location. We said they are, at least they are involved in electricity distribution, water distribution, construction, procurement, farming. So there are a lot of things so as to green their activities, to assure that they do sustainable development when they distribute the electricity, when they do maintenance activities. Do they consider the environment when they coordinate the fertilizers for the farming? Do they consider green farming, water reservation? We have to green these local government units. But we have to think about a specific greening framework so as to follow in order to really achieve a green local government units that are able to assure the sustainable development. The first tip, or the first category of the proposed greening framework is the understanding of sustainable systems. For any local government system, we have to assure that the people inside the system understand the concept of sustainable system. The understanding of sustainable system implies many levels of knowledge, or many levels of understanding, let's say, starting with awareness, knowledge, attitude, and we reach then appreciation. I will start by appreciation. When you appreciate something, you can do it, okay? If I appreciate that I need to handle the wastes and I need to reuse the wastes, then I will be able to run a waste management system. If I don't appreciate and I do the management of the waste system because this is my job and I have to do this, then the system will never succeed. So I have to appreciate what I'm doing. To appreciate what I'm doing, first of all, we have to work on the awareness. Awareness can be done by capacity building awareness campaigns. We can measure the awareness. Then we have to spread the knowledge by the technology, the knowledge, education. We can work on the curriculum in the schools, in the universities, because we do have three categories here. As I'm showing, we do have the audience, the people of the local government unit, the employees inside the local government unit, and the management of the local government unit. So we have to work on each one of them. So for example, for the audience, we can do awareness campaign, we can do many activities that we know how to increase the awareness. Then we need to go to the schools, to the universities in order to go to do some green curriculum, in order to assure the awareness and the knowledge of greening. As for the employees, no, we have to do something else. We need to do capacity building, okay? We have to train them. For the management layer, we also have to involve them in a green strategic plans. We will talk later about this. However, the best, as from my experience, the best thing to make people appreciate systems is making use of these systems, is being experienced with these systems, which means that if you want people to understand and to have a positive attitude and to appreciate a waste management system or a waste to energy system, let them use it and let them make benefit out of it. If they make benefit out of it by applying the system in the city, then they will appreciate it. Then you will assure a future appreciation of the future for the system. And they will understand that, yeah, we need to separate waste. We need to handle how to deal with waste. Okay? So, as I said, we said there are some awareness campaigns, schools, university curricula, community service, but the most important is the green experience. We have to invest in some pilot green systems inside every local government unit. Pilot systems in order to let the people appreciate it. I still remember one of my research that I have done in 2019. We were asking the people or the students at the university about renewable energy systems. We found that the students of the sport faculty are more experienced of solar water heaters than the students of the faculty of engineering. That was quite weird, huh? For sure, we exclude the mechanical engineering students because they learn about this. I'm talking about, for example, asking the civil engineering students. So that was quite weird, but when we investigate this, the students of the sport, they have a pool that they train inside the pool, and the pool is heated by solar water heaters, so they are experienced with the system, so they appreciate the system, they know about the system, because they deal with it. While the students, for example, of the civil engineering department, they don't have a solar water heater. That's why they don't really appreciate or understand the system because of lack of knowledge. So the best is to put the system in practice, then to make use of the system out of that. So we have many options how to apply some pilot green systems in the local government units. The smart management systems include everything. Most of the local government units, they use a lot of papers. So what if we apply, for example, an ERP system? Why, if I would like to talk to my manager, for example, to write him a paper by hand, I can send him an email within a system that saves the privacy, assures the privacy, the security, and the official authorizations. So there should be a system. Anyway, green power generation, water treatment systems, green farming activities, green mobility. If you want people to believe in e-cars or in waste cars, just try to provide at least a sample of a green mobility. Let them ride a bus that works on waste, so as to understand that, well, this can be happen. Okay. ERP system, we said, an e-governance, smart management system, and green buildings. Try to do some pilot projects inside the city itself, considering them, so in order to change the attitude and increase the appreciation of these systems. Then the second category is that we need to simplify the complexity of the sustainable system. We have to understand that sustainability and green revolution, let's say, is something new. And there are a lot of people who are really well experienced in conventional things. So we have to give them the ability to think, to formulate, to do, to analyze these systems. Okay? This can be done. We have to, or the government itself has to include capacity building activities in their strategy. They have to include team upgrade. They have to include equipment upgrade, stakeholder engagement, consultancy, technology transfer policy. So all of these things should be essential components of the strategic plan for any local government unit in order to achieve the ability to simplify these systems. Future sustainability, we said we have to do what we say, that appreciation, including some conventional procedures and non-conventional procedures by investing in some green systems. We have to give them the ability to simplify the system. So we need a strategy. We need to develop a strategic plan based on some sustainable development plan. We have to connect them. Let's assume that we are a council of a local city, and we need to think about our strategy for the upcoming 5 years. So we have to consider installing some pilot systems. We have to consider some capacity building. We have to consider so many things, as we said before, in order to assure that we do have a green system. And we have to connect these systems to the sustainable development goals. Depends on the type of the sustainable development goals. So our strategy should be based on the sustainable development goals. And then we have to draft the action plans. And the most important now is the financial plan. We do have a strategy. We do have proposals. So we need to fund these proposals. We need money. In some countries, there are some available budgets. But for local governments with the class A, the government does not usually fund them that much because you do have your earnings and you have to fund yourself. It's a self-organized system after all. So we have to fund ourselves. We have to find a source of funding for these strategies. And the best for source of funding is to use the green systems in order to fund itself, as I'm going to show an example later. Sustainable actions, we just mentioned them. We do have a list of sustainable actions that local government units may apply. For example, a green procurement policy, you have to consider a green procurement policy. What does it mean, green procurement policy? That when I would like to construct a school, I have to consider how green is this tender is, how green is this contractor is, what kind of procedures that he is going to apply in the city. So you have to list them something what we call them standard operation procedures, what to do, what not to do. I know it's quite boring to evaluate contractors based on this, but that will be at the beginning. Later on, it will be a culture that all of the contractors will put a greening section in every tender, that I will follow these steps in order not to harm the environment. And you will be evaluated based on this. The e-government policy, it's time to stop using papers. Perhaps in Austria, we don't use a lot of papers in the management. But in some other countries, we use a lot of papers. In my university back home, for example, we paid annually for papers around 2,100 euros just for papers. I want to have a leave tomorrow. Please sign it for me. You can send it by email. You can file it by a system. I would like to spend some to do a salary slip or to do to pay someone. You have to get a lot of papers with a lot of proofs. Okay, and then you have to pay. Even if you would like to pay him 10 euros, you have to spend to accumulate papers of maybe 10 euros sometimes, that worth 10 euros in order to spend 10 euros. So we have to go for e-governance options. We have to go for green power options. We have to go for energy efficiency measures inside cities. We have to think about it. It saves money. And by the way, because you come from technical background, you said, well, this is very obvious. Yeah, but when you go for government units, it's not obvious for them. When you meet a municipality mayor, for example, he does not know. He does not know how much he will save out of LED lamps as compared to the normal lamps. So you have to put some efforts in convincing him. Water treatment, green farming, green mobility, green buildings, the waste management and treatment, stakeholder engagement plan. Let's make a stakeholder council for the local government units. Who are the local, for example, for Klagenfurt, who are the stakeholders? The university, the consultancy firms, all of the people who are doing things related to the greening, they should be stakeholders. We need to consult the university, for example, about some green systems that we will install. We need your advice on this in order just to assure that this system will work successfully. Environmental assessment, we need to impose environmental assessment measures for everything. Would you like to install something in the yard? Let's do an environmental assessment of this. And we need to train them how to do the environmental assessment. This is linked to the capacity building activities. The climate change mitigation, we have to do some capacity building on the climate change and how to mitigate this by the contractors. And finally, annual reports and documentation. We have to teach them how to write down all of these efforts as connected to the Sustainable Development Goals in order to have kind of a progress meeting report. Sorry, there is, yeah, the last slide that I would like to show about how do we gain ability, appreciation, self-funding by strategy, and benefits. So this is a real system for a local government unit that they wanted to install and manage around 1 mega photovoltaic, 1 megawatt peak photovoltaic system. So the first thing that we did some capacity building to the engineers over there through a local technical consultant. So we hired a local technical consultant from the stakeholder side to the local government units so as to train them how to design, tender, and manage the instruction of the construction of photovoltaic plant on the city. We assure them a fund of 30%. Okay? So this fund is ready not to install the whole system, but this fund installed almost 200 kilowatt peak. With that amount of money, and the fund covered these things. Okay? Then we use the earnings coming out of the system, which is also managed by the local government unit itself. So they open the sub-account for the system by the earnings. Now the system is generating electricity. The local government unit is getting money out of this. So they put it in a bank account. They cannot use the money of the system. All of the money they should be compensated in a bank account for the second 2 years in order to continue installing, the systems to become almost 505. So within 2 years, we installed almost half of the system, self-funded. Then by the other 2 years, the system is fully installed within 4 years. Yes, within 4 years, and then the investment fund is returned to the funding agency. So this is what we are trying to do with the international funding system. No free fund anymore should be applied. No free fund policy. Free fund means take this money, build this system, now I hope you're happy. We go back to the most important term, appreciation. They will never appreciate this. The system will fail because they don't know how much is this. They just make a kind of a nice furniture out of this. But when I give you, for example, like 200,000 euros to build a system, to continue this by earning, and within 5 years, give me back the fund without interest. It's not a loan, it's a help. I'm helping you by giving you some money without interest. By giving back the money, then you will hold responsibility, you will gain ability, and you will gain appreciation. And we will assure policy transfer and technology transfer. And we will stop one of the biggest, let me say, corrupt sections in the development international projects considering this. We do have a lot of green systems installed in many countries without any progress, but on papers and reports. So that's all for today. Just a brief, this is a project that we are working on with almost 300 local government units and 4 countries. So yeah, I hope we just started doing this project, so I hope in coming years we do have more concrete results. Well, any question? I'm ready. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So the floor is open for questions. Yes, for the record.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Hallo, 1, 2. Hört man dich?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's just for the report.
Understand. Question to your last slide, please. So my understanding is when I compare it to startups, for example, that is called bootstrapping. So without any external funding to have the ability through the force, the money and all that to gain by myself. In general, it would take longer, yeah?
Sure.
Instead of just getting the money. For example, you get the money for installing 1 megawatt peak, as you said, at the beginning, and then I have it from the beginning. So now you need to build up this one. Is this according to your plan? I think at the beginning you mentioned something within a time frame of 5 years. I cannot read that. I see 1 year, 2 years. Is that feasible? Doing it that way to really build up by, I still call it bootstrapping, by that kind of strategy.
Yes, this is my idea because of many bad experience with internationally funded projects, because I totally understand that this may take more time. This may really quite discouraging for the other municipalities, but we found so many systems who got fully funded without being even managed, minorly managed, and just thrown because they don't pay money for it. It's like paid by other sides. So we start using these systems as furniture. So, for example, for a ranking body of the municipality of a university, all you need is to report that I do have a photovoltaic system at the university roof, for example. But what is the efficiency of this system? Is this system working? No one knows. In 2016, I held the responsibility of evaluating an EU project funding projects with 5 million euros to one of the countries for municipalities. The system or the project aimed to install mainly photovoltaic systems and energy efficient tools. I still remember that municipality where I got inside and I found really good big system, PV system. And I was asking the mayor of the municipality, and he said, yes, this is a great system. We stopped paying any money to the electricity because of this system. I was investigating the system itself and I found the system was off. And it looked really abandoned. So, well, if they really don't pay money for electricity, they would have really cared about much more about the system. So I was, yes, yeah, great. So I met the financial officer of the mayor and I was trying to trick him and I told him, that's weird, the mayor of the municipality said that we don't make use of this system and we paid a lot of money for the electricity. I said, yes, you know, the problem that the system is not really broken and we pay a lot of money for the electricity. And this is the issue, that because they don't make benefit out of it, they don't invest money out of it, no one will care about it. But when you pay your own money inside, then you will appreciate. And as I said, the first category to assure greening is to appreciate. It's like the father and the son regarding the money. Who earns the money appreciates the money, but who don't, let's spend 100 euros. So that's the issue.
Okay, thank you. Just another question, if I'm allowed to. So also the title is a greening of local government units, and also greening competences. So when a system at the end is considered to be green at the end?
Very good question. We're still working. One of the project work packages is to develop a measurement tool based on annual reporting. This is a responsibility of one of the international agencies who are really specialized in making annual reports or like KPIs. We do have some KPIs, but it's very voyage. So we aim to generate annual reports based on sustainable development goals, the 7th sustainable development goals, and to start weighting at the beginning between these municipalities so as to know, well, they are quite green. They are, well, still I have to say we don't have kind of one kind of a grade or a mark. Well, they are green. They are don't. But still working, because even the international green accreditation, so far they are working based on the assets, not the performance. And this is the problem. If you have a PV system at home, then your home is green. But what is the performance? Okay, so this is the idea. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good morning. Please, what's the difference between greening and sustainability? Also,
Sustainable.
yeah, and sustainable. What's the difference?
Well, greening is kind of a term in order to give the body like a description of performance. Sustainable is a term for technical systems. So when the system, I cannot say sustainable municipality, but it's a green municipality that use sustainable systems. So sustainable is a technical description of systems, which we discussed yesterday, but greening is just a description. Okay?
Good morning. My question is about greening of local government units. Is this local governments in which kind of countries are these local governments?
As I said in the beginning, it depends on the country itself.
Yeah.
For example, in Africa, I visited many countries in Africa. They do have very good local government units in a way that it's quite separated from the central government. There is a council that is responsible of water distribution, of electricity distribution, waste collection. So they do have some responsibilities. So our aim is to work on these council, not the central government itself. So this is what I mean by local government units.
And then my second question
So it depends on the country, I'm sorry. Some other countries, no, they are centralized.
Okay, my second question is what are some of the challenges within this kind of local governments? I assume that there should be some social differences or cultural differences in how they perceive or accept this kind of proposals.
Not social or cultural differences, it's all about the country itself. It's the norm, let's say. In some countries like Lebanon and Palestine, it is a norm, and Italy, for example, it is a norm that, well, the local government units is really responsible of many. I'm not sure about in Austria, but in Italy, Lebanon, and Palestine, the local government units the norm is responsible of the system allows this. They are responsible of many things. While in Jordan, they are not responsible. There are some other bodies in the government. I'm not sure in Austria. Is there any local councils for the villages?
There are.
They are responsible of electricity and water? No.
Usually it's separated,
Mm-hmm.
but they usually are at least partially owned by the city.
Mm-hmm.
So the electricity company of the city is basically part of the city, or
Mhm.
is partially owned by the city.
I see. So there are systems. So it depends on the system. So what we aimed in this project to have kind of identical countries with same characteristic, because like in Jordan, the local governments does not do anything. They just do some coordinations, some general meetings, so why should they do? They do no activities in order to green activities. Okay, so what we aim about more countries. Yeah, like in Palestine, we considered the local governments as states, perhaps because of political issues, but the municipality, for example, in Palestine is holding a huge responsibility. It's kind of a small government inside the government. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And for my last question, is this a continuous process? For example, in the project financial plan here, what happens after the investment is returned? 'Cause
Yeah, it is a continuous one. As I replied your colleague that we're trying to develop an annual report in order to evaluate municipalities like universities. So that now we do have annual ranking of each university. We aim to develop an annual ranking of municipalities and local governments. And based on such an ranking, they can receive funding, they can get differentiated from other local governments.
Thank
Thank you.
So I would have a question.
Please.
So also at our university we have this concept of green procurement. So we should do also not only assessment of the quality and the price of an item we want to purchase, but also at the sustainability aspect of it. But the problem is that these data is really hard to obtain. There is a lot of uncertainty in data. And also we have done some research on life cycle analysis, where we analyzed, for example, a small portable PV system.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a research project on its own. So it was necessary to do a lot of we had to get a lot of databases for this. We had to purchase the database access to do this. And in the end, we had to destroy the system in order to measure how many cables of copper are in there and how much grams of plastic and whatever. And in the end, we are about to write a paper at the moment.
Yes.
Exactly about this, which I think is a very good assessment, but this was a lot of work. And we cannot do this for every purchase. So how would you, and also at the university, usually researchers, they are very agile. They are, if they need something, they would like to purchase it right away, get it and go to the shop and use it, and not wait for a couple of months until it is decided if offer A is more sustainable than offer B or not. So how do you deal with this?
That's very true, and I feel your pain because I had the same situation. I was suggesting this practice, and then I was like, but thanks for the softwares, and I will guide you for a very nice solution. There is a new software called OpenLCA with a very nice, huge, free of use database. I can't even pass the database. OpenLCA with the database, I will pass it to you. This is really nice.
Already using it.
Yeah, okay. So this one, this software, this nice application that you can insert the part of the material, and you can insert different scenarios, and based on this, they can differentiate between almost 25 categories. And you do not go for the 25 categories, pick 2 or 3 just to convince people that, well, this is fine. And the problem that sometimes it's very hard to convince the management about your choices. Last time we were trying to buy batteries in order to charge them. And the software and the research showed that charging these batteries from the grid is more sustainable than buying photovoltaics to charge them, because the grid already has a lot of photovoltaics inside. So life cycle assessment. And most of the management were like, why? BV is green and should buy, yeah, I understand, but this is the result. So my conclusion that if you would like to apply a green procurement department, half of the department should be from the engineering department. So no more management people running the procurement. They should be half of the people running the procurement, half of them are from the environmental studies. So it should be like for 2 levels. And yes, thanks for the OpenLCA program and such programs who helps us. But yeah, I can feel your pain. Yes, it's really hard, I have to say.
I think we have no more questions.
Thank you.
So thank you once again
Thank
very
you
much
so
for
much.
the talk.
Thank you.